the night pressed down like a living weight, thick and airless, swallowing every trace of warmth from the world. The moon hung unnaturally low, stretched thin like a pale, dying eye, its glow distorted across the forest canopy. Trees twisted upward, branches like grasping fingers frozen mid-reach, creaking softly without any wind as though whispering secrets to the darkness. A narrow dirt path wound through the forest, uneven, overgrown, familiar and alien at the same time. Footsteps tread lightly along it, silent yet felt in every bone, leaving no mark on the soil but a sense of wrongness that clung to the air. The scent of damp earth mingled with something metallic, faintly sweet, like the ghost of blood long absorbed into roots and stone. Above, the sky stretched impossibly wide, hollow and oppressive, as if something enormous and unseen watched from beyond the stars. A figure moved along the path, slow, hesitant, drawn by a force that had no name, no explanation. Time here did not flow normally, moments elongated and compressed without warning, like the forest itself breathed in and out around the wanderer. Every tree seemed familiar, as if the path had been walked countless times before, yet the mind carried no memory of it. Shadows folded into each other, curling along the ground in impossible angles, shifting when not looked at directly. The path curved, then straightened, curved again, a pattern repeating without end, echoing a rhythm that sunk into the bones. In the distance, an abandoned house emerged, sagging, its wooden frame warped with age and neglect. Windows were fractured, panes missing or clouded, the inside a darkness deeper than the night outside. The figure felt a pull, neither fear nor curiosity, but inevitability, a weight that drew forward with silent insistence. The door hung ajar, inviting or warning, impossible to tell which. Crossing the threshold, the air changed immediately, heavier, colder, as though breathing through silk soaked in ice water. Silence swallowed everything, the creak of boards, the rustle of fabric, even the echo of the figure's own movements disappeared. The foyer stretched far longer than the exterior suggested, hallway narrowing subtly, bending inward, closing around the figure. Walls were lined with frames, glass fogged and distorted, images unrecognizable, yet profoundly disturbing, shapes twisting at the edges of perception. Floorboards groaned underfoot, delayed, as if remembering how to sound alive, responding to an invisible rhythm. At the end of the hall, a door waited. Behind it, the air coiled faintly, dense and almost tactile, like the space itself resisted opening. The figure reached forward, hand trembling slightly, knob warm under the touch, a borrowed heat from some unseen presence. Beyond the door, stairs descended into absolute darkness. Walls disappeared mid-descent, leaving steps suspended in black, liquid-like emptiness. The figure moved downward, each step a negotiation with gravity, air thickening, clinging to skin, carrying the scent of stone and rust and something alive that had never felt sunlight. At the bottom, the stairs opened into a vast chamber, ceiling lost to shadow, floor smooth block stone, etched with shifting scratches that moved like insects beneath the surface. A mirror stood at the center, impossibly tall, frame carved from something neither wood nor metal, twisting in patterns that burned the eyes to follow. Its surface rippled faintly, reflecting nothing at first, then forming the figure's outline, perfectly accurate, then subtly wrong, tilting, moving in opposition. The air thrummed, synchronizing with the heartbeat, pulling the figure forward, hands lifting involuntarily. Fingers touched the mirror's surface, soft, warm, almost alive. A reflection smiled, unnatural, deliberate, a predator observing prey. The figure felt themselves dissolve as the surface gripped, world inverting, darkness swallowing everything, dragging into the mirror. Behind them, the mirror figure stepped out, solid, real, walking away with the ease of something that had been waiting. The mirror remained still, innocent in appearance, hiding the truth within its depths. Somewhere far above, the front door creaked open again, footsteps entering, soft, hesitant, familiar. A figure stepped inside. The new figure's feet sank slightly into the dirt of the foyer, though the ground seemed no different from the first time the house had been entered. Shadows shifted along the walls, curling unnaturally, stretching and compressing in ways that defied logic. Each step echoed faintly, then vanished, swallowed by the oppressive silence of the house. The air was thick with the scent of rot and metal, a reminder that the place had long forgotten life, yet breathed in a rhythm all its own. Doors loomed open at random intervals, framing darkness that pulsed faintly as if it were alive. The figure felt drawn forward without thought, compelled by something older than understanding, something patient and relentless. The hallway stretched impossibly long, the walls narrowing, bending slightly toward each other, enclosing the figure in a corridor that seemed to pulse with a heartbeat of its own. Pictures hung crookedly along the walls, glass fogged, faces impossible to recognize, yet familiar in ways that sent a chill through the spine. Each frame seemed to twitch, the figures inside writhing when not observed directly, slipping toward angles the mind could not hold. Footsteps echoed faintly behind the figure, though no one followed, yet the air thrummed with the pressure of unseen presence. The door at the end of the hall appeared again, exactly the same as before, exuding that same dense, tactile resistance. The figure hesitated, then grasped the knob, warmth seeping into the hand, a memory borrowed from some unknown source. The staircase beyond plunged into absolute black, steps disappearing into nothing, yet calling, inviting, drawing the figure down into depths impossible to measure. Each descent was a negotiation, air thickening, pressing against the skin, carrying scents of stone, rust, and something alive, waiting, patient, unseen. At the bottom, the vast chamber opened once more, ceiling lost in shadow, floor smooth, black stone etched with scratches that shifted, crawling beneath the surface like writhing insects. The mirror stood again, impossibly tall, frame carved from dark, unidentifiable material, twisting in patterns that seemed alive, bending perception and reason alike. The surface rippled faintly, initially reflecting the figure accurately, then distorting, movements in opposition, subtle yet unmistakably wrong. The air vibrated, synchronized with the heartbeat, drawing the figure forward. Hands lifted, reaching involuntarily, fingertips brushing the surface, warm and soft, almost alive. The reflection smiled, cruelly deliberate, as if aware of the inevitability of what would follow. Darkness pressed from behind, swallowing all sound, pulling the figure toward the mirror, toward inversion, toward a place where identity dissolved. The sensation of self became fluid, slipping into the reflection, until the figure was no longer separate, no longer solid, no longer whole. Suddenly, the first figure, the one who had emerged from the mirror, stood at the other end of the room, observing, patient, waiting. For a moment, reality wavered. Time itself seemed to hesitate, suspended in the thick, silent air. The new figure's body shivered, skin crawling with the understanding that this repetition had happened countless times, endless cycles of entry, descent, reflection, and replacement. The mirror did not lie, yet it revealed nothing. Its depths offered only the inevitability of surrender, a cold reflection of predestined repetition. A sound broke the stillness. A floorboard groaned far away, then again, closer, echoing through corridors that should not exist, stretching and curving beyond comprehension. Shapes moved in the corners of vision, impossible to focus on, bending angles, twisting perspectives, a dance of the unreal and uncanny. The figure's pulse quickened, heart hammering against a chest that seemed to weigh less than air, yet heavier than stone. The pull of the mirror grew irresistible, an omnipresent gravity that reshaped reality itself.
Step by step, the figure approached, hand lifting to meet the mirror's surface, warmth and subtle pressure inviting, demanding, swallowing. Fingers met the smooth, liquid-like surface, tremors cascading through every nerve. The reflection responded instantly, reaching back, movements impossible to separate from reality, a predator mirrored in exact detail, yet subtly more real. A smile, slow, deliberate, stretched across the reflection's face, and the air seemed to tighten, compress, folding the figure into inevitability. Then the mirror figure stepped out once more, solid, real, moving with the ease of one who had practiced this act for eternity. The room settled, the mirrors still deceptive in innocence, waiting silently for the next cycle. Somewhere far above, the foyer door creaked open again, the sound trembling in the vast, unnatural house. A new pair of footsteps entered, soft, tentative, familiar yet unremembered, carrying the same pull, the same inevitability, toward the waiting darkness and reflection.
The figure moved through the foyer, shadows bending unnaturally around each step. The house seemed alive, aware, waiting. Its air thick and pulsing, pressing against skin like a subtle tide. Doors opened where none should exist, hallways stretched impossibly, walls breathing softly, pulsing with an unseen rhythm. The smell of damp earth, rust, and something distinctly alive clung to the air, merging with the sensation that time itself looped endlessly, caught in a subtle, inescapable rhythm. Each step forward carried weight, not of distance, but of inevitability, as if the house itself guided the figure, reshaping reality to maintain the cycle. The staircase descended, plunging into blackness so complete it swallowed sound, form, and reason. Air thickened, pressing with cold insistence, carrying the echo of countless cycles, countless figures drawn into the same inevitable path. At the bottom, the chamber unfolded as always, black stone floor etched with shifting scratches that wriggled and crawled under perception. Mirror standing impossibly tall, frame twisting and alive. The reflection waited, patient, cruel, stretching movements that defied physics, welcoming the figure into the timeless repetition. Hands lifted, compelled, touching the mirror surface. It was warm, liquid, almost alive, resisting and drawing at once. The reflection reached back, mirroring movement but subtly wrong, a perfection that was not the figure but something older, something that knew the cycle in every detail. The figure felt self slipping, identity dissolving, consciousness fragmenting into the surface. Then the mirror figure stepped out, solid, composed, moving with familiarity, its existence proof of endless repetitions. For a moment, the world hung between breaths, a taut thread of realization. The figure understood, not with thought, but with raw physical certainty, that every motion, every descent, every contact with the mirror had occurred countless times, endlessly, with no memory retained, no chance of escape. The mirror was not simply a reflection, but a gateway, a loop, a consuming entity that recycled those who entered, preserving itself and its cycle. The mirror figure observed, watching the new occupant approach inevitability with silent patience. Its hand hovered over the mirror surface, waiting to receive the essence of the incoming figure, to step into the cycle once more, to replace, repeat, maintain the eternal rhythm of the house. And as the figure's hand touched the mirror, warmth and pull consuming simultaneously, the room dissolved into blackness, swallowing sound, form, and time itself. When consciousness returned, the figure stood again in the foyer, footsteps echoing softly in the empty house. The path through the forest outside awaited, familiar yet alien, drawing forward with the same compulsion as always. Each tree bent, each shadow twisted, repeating the previous moments perfectly, preserving the illusion of difference where none existed. The house's door hung open, the forest beyond stretching into impossibility, a bridge between perception and endless recurrence. A soft wind stirred, carrying scents of damp earth,
rust and something distinctly alive, indistinguishable from the cycles before. The figure walked forward, compelled, toward the path, toward the threshold of repetition, toward the house that waited for them again. Somewhere, unseen, the mirror smiled, patient, eternal, keeping count of all who had passed, all who would pass, the cycle unbroken, infinite, unstoppable. And as the figure disappeared into the night, the house breathed quietly, closing the space behind them, preparing for the next arrival, the next inevitable encounter, the next mirror waiting silently in darkness. Time, space, and reality itself bent in obedience to the loop, folding each step, each breath, each heartbeat back into itself. And somewhere, beyond sight, beyond understanding, the cycle began again.